So welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Aileen. I work at Cyvatar as a senior marketing manager by day, and I'm a co-founder of the Cybersecurity Marketing Society by night, alongside Gianna and Maria. And today we're so excited to host our first and hopefully not last Rate My Website event. We got so much interest and we couldn't pick every site, so we're definitely going to do more of these. So just be on the lookout in Slack and LinkedIn. We'll pick a date probably in the new year to host the next one. And today we have two amazing, brilliant cybersecurity expert practitioners with us who graciously volunteered their time out of their busy days to share their insights and help us optimize our websites so that we can service our leads and customers better. So welcome Alyssa Miller. She's a TEDx speaker, a hacker, and she's the application security advocate at Snike. And we have Craig Goodwin, who's a former CISO and Chief Product and Strategy Officer at Cyvatar. So welcome, guys. And if you just want to give a quick introduction, quick career highlight, and share us a fun fact, how many vendor websites do you think that you've visited and researched throughout your career? So Alyssa, you can go first.
Okay, well, thank you. Hey, everybody, I'm Alyssa Miller. And yeah, as Aileen mentioned, I am an application security advocate for Sneak. I'm also a hacker and a researcher. I speak pretty regularly at various community events, whether it's information security conferences or other events of that nature. I've been in security doing this for, gosh, 15 years now. And before that, I was a programmer for almost another decade. So I've been in tech a long time. And so over that stretch, if I had to think of how many vendor websites I've been through, I'm sure it numbers in thousands and maybe potentially even close to tens of thousands. I think back on all the various proofs of concept and bake-offs and everything else that I've done over just, again, 25 almost years in tech. So.
Thanks, Alyssa. And Craig?
Hey, good to meet everyone. My name's Craig Goodwin. So as Aileen said, I'm going to call her out on a lie immediately because I didn't volunteer for this. She's got access to my diary, which is a really different. But seriously, no. So I've been in the industry for about 25 years, security services with the UK government to begin with. So that's kind of where I fell into cybersecurity. And then I've been a CISO for the last 20 or so for US tech companies mainly. So Monster Worldwide, Ferguson PLC, most recently Fujitsu. And then went on to co-found Cyvatar in the last 12 months, which is a super exciting journey for me. In terms of my background in reviewing websites, I had no idea how many. What I would say is it's fallen off dramatically in the last few years, just because I don't tend to visit the websites anymore. So that's why this was really interesting for me to look at it with fresh eyes from a CISO's perspective and actually see if I did land on that website, like would I know, how does it appeal to me, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, definitely fallen off in the last few years, but maybe, who knows, maybe this invigorate me. I'll start just rogue assessing websites now.
Watch what you say. I may sign you up for the next one, Craig. Thank you, guys. Just a few housekeeping things before we kick it off. So we will leave time at the end for the representatives from each company to ask some questions. So we'll let them go first. We'll leave about 10 minutes at the end. And then hopefully we can sneak in some questions from the rest of the audience. So you can either put your questions in the chat or in the Q&A box, whatever you want. And if you haven't attended a society event before, we keep it really collaborative and fun. We love you guys using the chat, so definitely just participate as well. You can comment on things that you love or suggestions that you have as we go through each website. So don't be shy, use the chat, and please too share on LinkedIn, Twitter, all your socials that you attended today and just share some love for the society and for our gracious hosts. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce the 4 companies that we are evaluating today. So I'm just going to share my screen super quick, and then we'll get started. So just give me a second. So I have to move my Zoom to the other screen. One sec. Okay. All right, so we have, we're gonna kick off with Curricula. Curricula is a cybersecurity awareness training platform. And they have a super fun website. I'm excited to dig into it today with everyone. And then we also have Keeper Security, which is a secure password storage and sharing platform. And then we'll move on to Skate Defense, which is a OT and IT cybersecurity defense company. And lastly, we'll round off the event with Hurricane Labs, which is a managed security services company with a focus on managing Splunk. Okay, so we'll look at the desktop version first of each website, and I do have the mobile versions pulled up on the screen too. So we will start with Curricula, and I will just pull up our guide. Okay. So the different categories we're going to evaluate today for each website are accessibility. So is the site easy to use and navigate? Imagery, what do you think about the colors, the aesthetic, the logo, all that stuff? Identity. So this will be a really key area, I think, to hear Craig and Alyssa's feedback on, just because they do have that cybersecurity practitioner point of view. So can you tell what this company does at first glance? On their homepage, do they appear to be legitimate? The way they message, does that appeal to you? And then we'll move on to content. So what do you think of the content? Was it easy to find? Is it educational, informational, etc.? UX and design. So what's the overall feel and functionality of the site? Does it bring a positive user experience? Were you completely lost, or were you able to find what you needed quickly? And then lastly, conversion points. So is the site drawing you towards a certain action, call to action? If you want to get in touch with someone, is it easy to do that? Is there contact information, an email, a phone number, etc.? So those are the categories, and we're going to kick it off with Curricula. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So we'll start with accessibility. So Craig, we'll start with you. So just first glance, as you got on the website and wanted to learn about Curricula, what did you think when you typed Curricula in Google? Did it bring up their website? Was the URL easy to find? If you had to remember it and type it in, was it short enough to do that? Just give us your overall perspective when you first landed on the site.
Yeah, from an initial perspective, I think it went well. I think, the URL is clearly, we all know the pains of founders and trying to buy URLs. So my guess is curricula.com is probably taken at this point. So get Curricula, but it's just one of those things and those pains of being a founder. I think, yeah, we found it nice and easy. It pops up. I think from a keeping, I'm terrible at Aileen, so you make sure you keep me in the section we're talking about, because I'll clearly go off piece here. But so keeping on the accessibility piece, I think the navigation was really clear. The immediate time when you land on the website, I love the fact that that kind of statement, make security awareness training fun, is like there, smack bang in the middle. I think you land on the website and immediately what the organization does, I think, which is really positive. I think the sitemap was easy to navigate. I must say, when I look on the browser, and I can see it a bit here, it's difficult to know with browsers, but I think the top menu is a little bit small for me, and there was a pop-up that I got that made it or hid it even more. So it was a little bit tough to kind of see that top menu. And then the only other kind of bit of feedback I would give, I think, from an initial perspective was, and it's true of all four actually, so it might be a formatting thing, but the logos are too small for me on like all of them. Like you look through and it kind of sits in the top left-hand corner, and it does take you a little bit of time to get to the logo and see the logo. And I think that was true across all four, but in particular Curricula, like it's just quite small there on the page. It's great you get that initial impact of its security awareness training, but I think, you know, to tie that to the logo and make it more obvious would be a really good thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know, just to follow up with that, it got me so excited that I wanted to sign up. Like I wanted to find out, all right, where can I sign up? And I noticed that there's a sign in and there's a free episode, but there's no sign up. So just one point of feedback for you guys. And how about you, Alyssa? What was your sort of first couple thoughts when you landed on the site?
Yeah. So, I mean, I like that it was, I mean, it definitely is easy to tell what they do right away. I agree with Craig about the pop-up. I mean, if you're going to have things pop up on your website, they shouldn't be invasive. And that actually like covers the logo. It covers, you can't see it on your screen because you must have cleared it, but as a web user, I'll tell you that annoys me on any website when I've got pop-ups that make it harder for me to use the site. But I like, one of the things I really liked early on in the site is the imagery. And I know I'm kind of jumping ahead maybe, but the fact that, you see all the cartoony characters and whatever, and they're all from the content that actually is what Curricula delivers. So I thought that was a nice way to draw all that together and kind of just use that as a theme throughout. The one thing I will say I noticed early on, and this is going to be common for most of the ones we're going to look at today too, a lot of scrolling. And that is, to me, as a user coming to your site and I'm looking for information, the last thing I want to have to do is scroll through 5 to 6. I run full screen browser and I still have to scroll through 6 separate pages worth of stuff just to view your homepage. That to me is pretty onerous. And so I don't know if the one thing I would have liked to have seen right away would have been a little more condensed content, maybe not quite so much space.
Yeah. And do you guys typically, if there's a video in the header of a website, if it's the vendor that you're evaluating, do you typically click it and watch it?
Not typically. And I mean, normally I'm going to read first and then I might come back. I know this one here, at least it's already automatically animated. And so that actually gives me less reason to watch it. Because I can kind of already see what it's doing, but at the same time, I can see already, so I mean, look at that as a positive or a negative. I don't know. I guess it depends on your goals, but it does give me some idea already. Okay, this is what, their videos are going to look like if I bring these into my organization, and I never had to click on it. It's not playing sound or anything, which is great. Again, it's not really obtrusive or anything. So it's actually perfect. I like the fact that I could, after I've read through, I can come back to it, hit the play button and actually go watch the video.
Right. And let's talk about the aesthetic. So it is very playful and friendly with the cartoons and Dee Dee the hacker. And that's sort of out of the norm for cybersecurity, right? A lot of brands sort of say traditional. So what did you guys think? And if you were looking into cybersecurity training for your company, would this spark your interest? And Craig, you can go first.
Yeah, it really appealed to me. I think just on initial sight, it wasn't the traditional stock images that you get. It wasn't a flat website, and certainly, from my perspective, I think I put in the comments a little bit, not to go too deep into controversial views on the industry, but I think there's still a couple of different camps of thought, right? When you talk about CISOs or enterprise security people, but I think if you're in the right camp of thought that wants to drive it forward and do things a bit differently, well, this is this is going to appeal straight off the bat, right? It's not your traditional security website. If I'm looking for security awareness training that is a bit different, then it definitely tempts me to dig a bit deeper. There's no mention of, whilst there is a compliance tab at the top, there's no mention of tick box exercise. It's talking about making it fun immediately. And like Alyssa said, you look at that, I don't have to play that video. I can see that content is different. I can see that it's animated. I can see that it's a bit, out of the normal. And I think if I'm looking for that, and you're looking for that kind of customer, if you're Curricula, then it shows that from the time you land on the page, I think, which is from my perspective is really appealing to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I like to how when you, at first glance, you guys see like you work with some pretty big brands. So even though it is playful and fun, some really important companies out in the world have used you and trust you. So I think that adds a nice proof point right when you land.
I think they
How
could
about
be
you?
more prominent. I think you can make them bigger or colorful or something, because I didn't scroll past them the first time.
Yep, I agree. How about you, Alyssa? Did you like the cartoon feel of it?
Yeah, I mean, so I know we're looking more at the website than the product, but for me, I like that the whole theme kind of embraces what Curricula is all about and what they're, using to make themselves stand out in, a market that obviously has a lot of competitors. Really connecting with some of the key frustrations people have. If you've ever done security awareness training, if you've done it as a user, it's boring, it's onerous, it's frustrating, it's, are you really going to make me watch every one of these, kind of thing. So I think showing, focusing on making it a little more fun, showing right away what some of the things are that kind of make it stand out is good. So I really like that. I guess if I were evaluating it as the product, I mean, I might have some reservations that it might be too cartoony and too, sometimes that depending on the organization, that that's not positioned right, that can actually come off as kind of condescending to employees too. So that would be, as I look at this, and I tried to look at it as like someone who's going to actually buy this, that was the one thought I had throughout, was just, I wonder if maybe it's a little too much of that. But no, I mean, overall, it does focus on that. And, as long as they're short videos, they're not the lengthy, hey, you've got to watch this thing for a half hour, that would actually, then that makes that, a lot better. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is the only thing that kind of struck me as I was navigating through it, and it kind of, I'm all for completely different. Right? I want to be out there, and I like that. But when I got to the DD bit, kind of a little bit, I had the same thought as you, which was a little bit like, I don't know. I mean, just it's an incredibly fine line, as we know, Aileen, right? It's an incredibly fine line to balance between being completely different and being too goofy. And I think they've done a great job here, so I really like it. But I think testing, and I'm sure these guys have, right? We'll test it with the audience in terms of the DD thing, and whether that's kind of, you're on the right line there, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one way they can optimize is because they have the credibility, right? Is maybe making by Curricula a menu item in the main navigation. And also moving, they have a great testimonial down here. Maybe moving this up a bit or adding a testimonials tab or something like that, because they have worked with some really noteworthy clients. So I think as long as you have the credibility to back up, to match that playful, fun vibe, I think you're set up for success for sure.
Yeah.
And just in the essence of time, I want to move on to the next section. I know that I personally, when I went through the website, the first thing I always do is see if there's a resource library so I can look into thought leadership, case studies, testimonials, etc. How did you guys find their content? What did you think of it? And Alyssa, you can go first.
Sure. I mean, I liked a lot of the things they had here. They had the free episode. The free phishing test was kind of interesting. And you can sign up for a free trial. The one thing I'll say I was honestly most disappointed with was the blog. you know, especially for a security awareness site, I thought the blog would be a great opportunity to share just some quick, you know, 600 to 1,000 word blogs on specific security awareness topics. And they're kind of peppered in there, but more often it seemed a lot of this was really focused on like marketing and product news and things like that, rather than really things that felt like thought leadership around security awareness. Like, hey, you know, I would have loved to found a blog that said, hey, here's how to, you know, stand up a comprehensive security awareness program in your organization. Or, you know, here's a cheat sheet on the top 10 mistakes people make when they're trying to roll out a program, or, you know, things like that. Or even you could even get deeper into maybe some of the topics that are covered in the videos, but just a quick blog that talks about it, something like that. Just kind of back to your point before about credibility. I think that would help really establish that, you know, this website's not just a place you come to, you know, get connected to our sales team. This is a site you can come to and you can keep coming back and you can keep getting good content more than just updates on our product. So that was, but like I said, I did like some of the other things. I didn't get deep into looking through the Curriculaville conference. That one kind of interests me, but I just ran out of time. Didn't really come back to look at that. But there's some good stuff here around the product. I just wish there was a little more thought leadership, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. And there's a stat out there that like 75% of users do 75% of their research before they contact you or convert. And so what I was looking for was some more freebie content, like you were talking about, maybe a couple more episodes that I didn't have to fill out a form for. So I think that that's a good way they can optimize their content a bit, is give users, let them learn about your brand, let them learn about your product, and let them, you know, guide them to that decision, educate them enough to help them make that decision and convert. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add much to this. It's been pretty comprehensive there. I agree with everything. I think you know, just more content. I would love to see a site where, and I think everyone's trying to move in this direction now. I'd love to see a site where I just go to it for security awareness training, right? Advice and guidance, regardless of whether I want to buy your product or not. And I think there's a real gap for that. Like I would just go there as a source of information. And clearly the team are trying to get there, but I think that could be a real spot in the market, because I think the acceptance that there's a lot of things we can do before we buy a product is fine to say, right? You can go and create yourself a PowerPoint presentation when you're smaller, and then when you get bigger and you start to want to learn tips and buy stuff, then this is the place for you to come. I really like the time it says in the bottom for each of the articles. It tells you how long it is to read. I think that's really powerful. I didn't see that in some of the others, because you know, I'd be tempted not to click if I think it's going to be huge. So yeah, so other than that, I completely agree with Alyssa. I think there needs to be just more thought leadership.
Yep. And then the last one we'll cover is, what did you guys think of the pricing page? I personally really liked the lever, how you could move it to your company size. Did it scare you away? Did it not? Did it draw you in even more? Just any general thoughts around that?
I mean, I'm always a sucker for comprehensive side-by-sides like that,
Yeah.
which I really like. It always annoys me when they give you like 3 or 5 bullet points and, you know, one has 3 of them checked, the other has 5, and that's all they tell you about the difference between the two versions. So I really like that. Yeah, and it was nice to be able to conveniently, you know, okay, see what the pricing is going to be. I mean, it's really straightforward, and that's appreciated too. I don't have to reach out to you unless I'm working in a large organization that's bigger than 2,000 people, which, okay, at that point, yeah, it makes sense. I'd probably be calling for a custom quote anyway. So I liked that. That was very easy to use and definitely put the information right where I needed it.
Exactly. Yeah, I liked how they had the need a custom quote at the bottom, not too intimidating. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I love it. I think I love the transparency and simplicity of it. I think it's super cool with the slider. The only thing, and it's a minor point, it stood out to me as not really, it was the only part of the website. I don't know whether they've used a stock page or something. It was the only part of the website that didn't quite fit in with the rest of it. Like if you scroll up to the top, like the scroll bar is fantastic, but it looks like a bit of a stock image type page to me, or a template page. But other than that, you know, the premise of it, which is, you know, slider bar pricing, open, transparent pricing, I think is exactly the way to go. It might be nice. I think one of the attendees just popped in the box there. It'd be nice to be able to type the number straight in as well, which is another usability function, which is a good point. But other than that, yeah, I think the premise of simplicity and transparency is great.
Absolutely. All right. Cool. Thank you guys. We'll move on to Keeper now. And Curricula team, stick around if you can, if you have any questions to ask at the end. Okay, so same thing here. We'll cover the same categories. And Alyssa, we'll start with you this time on Keeper. So let me just pull my notes up. So first time landing on the homepage at first glance, accessibility, did you find the site easily? And when you landed on the site, were you able to read in like 10 seconds or less what they do, and were you able to understand it?
Yeah, so I mean, it does a great job there, right? I'll start from the last question first. Obviously, you come in and it says cybersecurity starts with password security, so it's pretty obvious. You've got a a nice screenshot here that I actually really like, where it's the combination of what the two different interfaces look like, mobile and on your computer. So I'm obviously it looks like a web portal, but so it makes it pretty obvious pretty quick that you're dealing with a password manager. Finding the site in Google is the only thing I would say was a little tough, because if you don't search for Keeper security, obviously you get a lot of different things.
Right.
You get soccer goals and all sorts of things in there. So that's the only issue with the name being Keeper. Obviously that fits with a lot of different things, so you have to kind of know. But I think most people are probably going to search for like Keeper passwords or Keeper security anyway, if they know they're looking for this product. But no, you land, I think it's pretty clean layout. Again, maybe a little more open space than I would prefer, just because it creates a lot of unnecessary scrolling. But just the initial impression, it's very clean. You can see a lot of the information. You see some of the businesses that are using it. Right away, there's a couple different engagement points. Get Keeper for free shows up there. There's learn more, CTAs, the whole 9 yards. So I like that there's a lot of actions to take, not just from the navigation bar, but within the content as you're scrolling through it.
Absolutely. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. I think the only slight kind of negative for me was it felt quite templated, right? When I first landed, it felt like it was a bit stock templated, and you have to look a bit closer to see, the images that are perhaps more unique to Keeper. The other thing, when you kind of hover over the menu items, there's just a lot of text, and there's a lot of options, and I got, even me, and I was looking through it purposely to critique it, which is a different way of looking at the website, obviously, but it's just all very samey, and I was just overwhelmed. Just hovering over that business, I was like, I don't even know. I'm not even sure what I want to click on there. I struggle, and I'd have to really spend some time and effort to work out what I want to go to and what I actually want to see. So I think whilst there is a ton of information, that can also be slightly negative because it just overwhelms me. The other thing is, it's a great call to action to say get started, but it also, me just putting my kind of negative side on, if I don't want to get started, I'm not sure where to go. I might just want to learn more, right? And then it pushes me into kind of navigating through all those loads of text lines again. So that was I just felt a little bit overwhelmed when I started to look through the information to know what I needed to do next.
Yeah, I think Craig actually hit on something too. For me, was just the navigation side of it. I'm not a fan of this navigation bar at all, quite honestly. And the thing that really sealed it for me when I realized what was driving me nuts was, if you scroll to the footer, you see there's all sorts of great information. There's a whole resources section down here, everything else. none of that shows up in the navigation bar at the top. So unless you scroll to the bottom, you don't even know that they have a blog. Everything in this nav bar, if you look at each one of these, it's all about conversions. It's, you know, the first two are business and personal, and see pricing, see plans, see buy unlimited, buy now. Then you go to pricing, then it's contact us. All of this is, you know, it's like over focus on conversions and sales, and there's not any of the tell me about your product, and, you know, give me some of that thought leadership content again, because as we'll talk about in a minute, when you go to their blog and some of the other stuff down here, there's actually some really great stuff out here.
Yep.
Yeah, and I love, if you look at that, so when I did actually look really closely at the imagery on the front there, like I love the way they've got all those really well-known logos, you know, the Netflix is there, the Salesforce is there, like the dashboard itself looks super cool. Like show me that, make that more prominent, because I'd go and look at that password keeper, because it just looks, the GUI looks super cool.
Yep, those were some notes I made too. Right off the bat, like if I came here from a personal reason, I'd want to learn how it can help me. I don't know anything about security, right? I'm a marketer. Even though I work for a cybersecurity company, just kidding. But yeah, I'd want to learn how can it help me with my personal finance, right? Like protecting those accounts. I think you have a huge untapped consumer opportunity, and this feels very B2B, the website. And you have personal right at the top, right? So as a consumer, I'd land on here and I'd not think that this was for personal use. I'd think that this was definitely like business enterprise. And so, yeah, you guys definitely need to make your blog more prominent in your resource library. You have tons of stuff down here, as Alyssa mentioned, that's just hidden. I mean, most people don't even scroll to the bottom. Usually they just navigate somewhere else on the top. Another point I want to make was, I think download could be a little bit more specific, like get app or download app, because I wasn't really sure what I was downloading. Like, again, I don't know enough about the product yet. Am I downloading like a white paper? Am I downloading, like, I'm not sure. So I think you could just be a little bit more specific there.
Yeah, and on the wording, the whole, so I saw, and when I clicked through, like the whole dark web scanning thing is cool, right? It's a breach assessment, is fine, like if you're a personal, but I would word it differently, particularly if you focused on personal, right? I would read that and go, just scared of that, like don't know what that means. Whereas if you just use check your breach, or check if your email address has been breached, or something that is much easier to understand, that would be a good call to action as a personal thing. I'd probably just go and do that to see.
Yep.
So
And, yeah, you can go. No,
yeah, I was gonna say this is where I have to get on my soapbox now, because the site does touch on one of my few pet peeves. And since Craig mentioned the dark web scan page,
don't blame me, Alyssa.
I'm not blaming you. You just reminded me, and you brought us to that topic when we're talking imagery. The tired trope of hackers in hoodies in dark spaces, and this is so, oh God, this just has to go away. So many sites that still use stock photographs like this, and it doesn't play with anybody anymore. You know, I mean, you've got a product here, which I'm assuming B2B is probably the primary focus, even though yes, there is a consumer product, and I would love to see products like this end up more in consumer hands. But even with consumers, that old trope of the hacker hunched over, you're looking at one right now. You see, I'm not wearing a hoodie. I'm quite well lit. Yeah, that's one of those. I see it so much in security companies. I would love to see that one disappear, because it like I said, it's played out, and it doesn't really resonate with anybody. I don't think at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just to add to that, hackers can be females too, and they're always males on every site. So we need to switch it up a bit. Okay, so before we wrap up, let's just pop over to the blog. So I'll comment a couple things that I liked. I liked how they had a search, because usually, you know, when I come somewhere and I'm doing research, I want to type in a keyword like personal finance or banking or whatever, if I wanted to protect those apps. And I liked the recent posts. But the stock imagery, I think, could be a little bit, could use a little work. Again, because you do have that B2C audience and it's very business focused. But I'll let you guys comment quick. Craig, if you want to go first.
Yeah, firstly, I think it was just a bit buried, right? And some of that is because there is so many data and options around the menu and all that kind of stuff. It's tough to find this content. And then, like you, Aileen, when I landed on it, I don't know, I think it must be the use of the stock images. It just doesn't appeal to me. Like, I wouldn't click on that at all. I would just go, I've landed on a template website. Like, it just doesn't, nothing draws me in to want to read the stuff. Even though when you do get in there, you know, there's some half decent content there. It just doesn't appeal to me, and I don't want to make the effort to read it. So I think it's the design more than anything.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll say kind of a lot of the same. You know, I like having the snippets for blogs like this, but I like them when they're much smaller. And you see that in a lot of blog templates, like if you're using WordPress or whatnot, there are templates where they, you know, and we'll see them, we've seen them already in one, and we'll see them in some of the other blogs that we'll look at. These are just huge, right? I mean, you only get like one to a page. The other thing, I love that there's a search, because that is great when you have all this content. But why is that not in the upper right? Because I will tell you, I actually started typing a search into that email address field before I realized I was typing into something that said email address. And I got a feeling a lot of users probably do that too. I would actually just flip-flop those, put that email address thing down lower. Yeah, it's a cool feature to say, like, yeah, I can subscribe to your blog. I love that. But that, I wouldn't put that as the top thing. Put the search up there, because if I come to your blog, and I mean, that's probably 90 times out of 100, that's what I'm going to be looking to do, is search for some type of content.
Yep, I totally agree. And just to wrap up, a few other comments before we move on that I want to make sure I mention. I did use the chat bot, but you guys were offline. It was late last night. So I think you should add an option to leave a message. It just said like talk to sales, or I think I've learned everything I need to, or something like that. So I think it'd be useful to do that. Like, hey, this is Aileen. I'm interested in the personal app. Can someone contact me at X email address? Because that could be a good way to convert. And then I really liked your pricing page for personal too. Again, I was trying to bring a consumer perspective, but I know a lot of cyber companies hide their pricing, so I liked how transparent your pricing was and super simple to understand.
Yeah, that as well. I think if you think of the call to action immediately, like from a personal perspective as well, this is really heavily cybersecurity. Like, if I was from a personal perspective, I'd probably more be worried about the fact that I've got 1 billion passwords and I want them to be managed much more than perhaps the security of them necessarily, right? So that kind of personal bit, I think there's a much clearer path to go down between the two sales pitches that doesn't kind of leap out to me here.
Yep. All right. Any other comments before we move on, guys?
Really quickly, I'll just say in the there's a resource library link in the footer as well. This page is gold, and I don't know why this is relegated to one little link at the bottom of the page. For crying out loud, this, yeah. I would love to see this up there, you know, very prominently, because I think that this, and then you could even use some of like the trending topics and things, might even, maybe with a little bit of a rename, might be something you can even pull in that consumer market with, because you might be able to hit on some really, you know, topics in the news or something, things that, oh, wow, okay, let's talk about password breaches or whatever. Why is Google Chrome giving me these alerts that I've got 6 compromised passwords? What does that mean to me? You know, all the stuff you could throw in there. I actually really love this page, and it was really disappointing when it took me probably 10 minutes of being on this site before I found it.
Yeah, definitely. And they could definitely add a search bar and some like filters, like check boxes in different categories like they had on the blog, different topic areas, because I think that would make it easier to navigate. All right, in the essence of time, we're going to move on, and we didn't even get to the mobile versions of these sites. So I apologize, guys. We just have so much to dig into. Okay, so we're going to move on to SCADA Defense next. So this is an OT and IT cybersecurity company. And so I will kick it off. Again, we'll start with accessibility imagery. I know at my first glance, it seemed the homepage, it talked a lot about how great they were. But if I was coming here as a security practitioner, I'd want to know, okay, great that you won an award, but where can I find what you can do for me? You say that you're named a cool vendor and the most comprehensive security, but how can I find my use case? How can I learn more about the brand and more what solutions you can bring to my company? And I had to, scroll down a bit to find that. So I think it could definitely be in the header. I mean, awards are fantastic, but that's a bragging point to in my opinion. And Craig, you can kick off and start if you want.
Yeah, of course. So just looking at accessibility and kind of first landing on the page, I don't know whether it was the browser I was in. It just wasn't rendering when I was in minimized view. I took a screenshot of it, and the logo and the top menu kind of mashed in together, and it just didn't work on the Firefox browser. So that was kind of the first thing I mentioned. Oh, sorry, I noticed. Once it's expanded, once I got to the point where I could see the view that you've got here, like I think the menu options were pretty clear. Same boring old point about the logo in the top left-hand corner. Like it just gets completely lost for me. Like I think I'm you should be super proud of that. Like it should be prominent, and I just couldn't see it here. Then just from an admin point of view, I don't know. Again, I'm no designer, right? Aileen knows this, but on the left-hand side, like the lettering just doesn't work for me. I know we're trying to make OT and IoT stand out, but like it caused me to almost miss that bit somehow. Like it just doesn't, that lettering just doesn't seem to play with the rest of the website. And then I guess the overall general feel of it feels quite government. I don't even know necessarily what they're focused on, but it feels quite government and staid. Like it feels quite old school, I suppose, in the approach, and it's not, right? IoT, OT is all new, exciting stuff, and I didn't kind of get that feeling as we scrolled through this site, which is a little bit disappointing. I like the colors, I like the contrast of the colors because I can read it easily. But again, tons of scrolling, loads of points. Like by the time I got to the second scroll, I'd stopped reading the points that were on here, to be honest with you. So I think we need to cut that down in some cases.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo the point about the font sizes, and I'll go, all over this homepage. The font sizes are just, there's no rhyme or reason to them, and it really makes it actually a little confusing that way. I actually did, funny enough, kind of actually appreciated a little bit of the more old school kind of style, given that, looking at the industry served, what I would expect for OT, ICS style security, right? It's very much the utilities and those types of things, where I think the types of people that come and visit actually kind of appreciate that, right? Like they're not, definitely if this was like the Curricula style, you would be failing miserably. I don't think that would fly well, right? So, and I'm not picking on Curricula, it's just a great contrast. I think in this case, I actually kind of liked that part because it did kind of feel like it was in place for ICS. But Craig, you just said something that kind of made me think, and that is the IoT side of it, which is almost very, I get the connections between ICS, OT, and IoT, but IoT does kind of sit out there as more like the cutting edge. Whereas when we think about more OT, we're thinking about, those systems we stand up and they just look the same for 10 years, like we see in ICS. So, it's an interesting dilemma. But yeah, I mean, again, the scrolling, a lot of it could definitely be condensed more. I felt like this one was at least a little bit better than some of the others because at least there was more content in what I was scrolling through. But again, it was hard to find like what I was really looking for on this first page.
Yeah, exactly. And SCADAfence is really strong on content. So hats off to you guys. The resource library is great. I like how you have the case studies on the first page and you have a resource tab option in the menu bar. That being said, the design of the resource library does feel a little outdated to me. But again, I'm not your target your target persona. But one thing that was missing was a search bar. I do like how you have the different types of media. Some other things you could add is also different content category types like OT, IT, IoT, government, stuff like that. But yeah, just tons of content, which I know that your audience dives into is, you guys hold a lot of webinars and your audience needs to be educated. And so really hitting the mark there. So don't know if you guys found the resource library useful, but would love to hear.
I love the resource library. I was raving about the resource library. Yeah, I would like to see the search and maybe more categorization, but the mix of different types of media available. And I mean, and it's the type of content that I think plays well with the target market here too. And that's what I really liked about it. I mean, the only thing I will say, the slider thing at the top, so it comes up and it's got a case study as the first thing. I guess I was expecting that to like scroll through more case studies than when I went through and it started pulling up all the other content. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that this really adds anything because it looks like it's probably, I'm guessing it's just like the whatever top, however many latest things that were posted or something. It didn't really have a rhyme or reason. I didn't understand why these were the things that it was scrolling through. So I don't know about that, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, I love the amount of content and the type of content and very technical, a lot of thought leadership stuff, which again is, I think for this market segment, that's what you're looking for. I think that's going to resonate. I think that resonates well with your customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even better on the blogs piece. I love the way the blogs are lined up and just the whole aesthetic of that page is just super cool. Like you can immediately see just the imagery is not stock imagery. Like it entices me to want to click on that Mitsubishi blog, right? It entices me to want to read those things. And yeah, I love that page. I think you should be able to get there more easily. Like there's some really good content when you dive into it as well.
And I know I hammered on it with Keeper, so I will hammer it on here too. Obviously, the Mitsubishi blog has the one piece of imagery that drives me crazy. Yeah. So I'll just say it. There, done. I already covered it in detail, so you know what my feelings are on that.
But it's got a big Mitsubishi logo in front of it, so that was
it. Yeah, and then moving on to conversions and CTAs. I personally just kept seeing request a demo everywhere or schedule a demo, but I don't think we can expect our visitors, right, when they're in that research phase to always want a demo. So maybe seeing another option like contact us. I know you have the chat bot as well, but some people like that traditional form fill of just like, hey, I want to fill out a form and tell you and ask some questions and have someone contact me. So maybe just having that somewhere a little bit more prominent would be good.
I think don't think enough about that call to action. Like people just take a button, right, and stick it there and don't think enough about what it says. And I completely agree with you, Aileen. Like I might be looking for, I might be looking for more information on what SCADAfence does, but I'm not going to press request a demo at this point. That just scares me. I don't want people phoning me to set up a demo. Not yet. I want to know more. So that I think it's really important what we write in those buttons.
Exactly. And then another thing I couldn't find was pricing. So even if you don't want to put your pricing on your website, I think that you should acknowledge it somehow. Like our pricing is, customizable to our client's needs or something like that. Request a quote or something. So didn't see that anywhere, at least anywhere prominent. So from your guys' perspective, when you don't see that, does it scare you?
I don't think so in this market space, again, just because I kind of assume that it's, these are going to, this is a very much enterprise grade, type of solution. And so I guess I kind of almost expect that it's something that's going to need to be custom quoted.
Okay.
I think the problem is going to be as we move on, because like that is still relatively new, that transparent pricing slider bar. I think as time goes on, it's going to be more and more apparent where that doesn't exist. I think for now it's good, but I think, over time.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, thank you guys. Okay, and moving on to our last contestant, Hurricane Labs, and I know we're a bit over time, so we will try to wrap up as soon as we can so we can answer some questions. Okay, so Hurricane, I'll kick it off. I really like your guys' logo. It's so different for a cybersecurity company, but it was really refreshing to me. And I just appreciate logos and design. So I thought it was creative, and it's like a wave. So I liked that. And it seems like your main services focus is Splunk. So I think great to have that in the header. You're hitting your target persona. And the only thing I will say is like Hurricane doesn't really tell me anything about what you do. I don't really know that your cybersecurity services right away. So that's just a comment. So maybe if you can add something in your logo that notion that to the security notion would help eventually. But Alyssa, why don't we start with you for this? So first, you're landing on their website for the first time. You've just found Hurricane Labs. What was your first reaction?
It's got a clean look, and yeah, I mean, it's easy to consume, but it kind of leaves me wondering. I didn't really get any sense of the organization of the content that was here. Right. I mean, there's a lot of these blocks where you've got, different things, and it comes down and you've got the InfoSec blog, which, don't get me wrong, love blogs. So I love that it's here, but it just, it doesn't seem, it doesn't really make sense that all these things, the way they're just laid out, it didn't really, it just doesn't, it doesn't seem to have like an arrangement that has a purpose. It's just kind of like it was all kind of tossed on here was the feel I got. And then, just little things, this animated section where they, with the testimonial, those things annoy me when I'm scrolling through and something responds to my scrolling by, I know we all love HTML5 and we can do all these really cool things, but stuff like that actually causes me to, like, it actually gives me anxiety in scrolling. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but like, when things start moving while I'm scrolling, it's like, wait, don't change the page. Wait, go back. I want to see it how it was.
Right.
And so that just to me is kind of a counterproductive piece. And then, yeah, I mean, you can just see like with around the blogs and the tutorials, just the amount of white space there. It doesn't need to be there. How far you have to scroll just from the bottom of the blog titles down to where it says view more. Is, I mean, there's just so much space. This could all be really condensed and cleaned up a bit to just make it easier to understand, organize it just a little better would be my thought.
Yep. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I agree. It just looks a bit mismatched for me. Like I like the fact that those graphics, like the one in the top right-hand corner, like they've really tried to do something different. I really admire the fact that that is a really different imagery than I traditionally see within security, but I'm not sure it all follows the same theme. Like that's in of itself, it's a cool little image, but it doesn't seem to kind of flow throughout the rest of the web page, which is a shame. And then clearly there's a huge focus on Splunk here, but I think if they do anything else, and perhaps if your target audience is only Splunk, like people that only use Splunk, then this is perfect, right? If you do anything else at all, which I think they do, I'd just be turned off immediately. Like I'd see the word Splunk and I'd be gone off this website like the second I landed on it. So if that's the aim, then good. If not, then probably need to finesse it a little bit. Yeah, and generally speaking, I think it was more flow. It was a good attempt at making something differently. I think it just needs to kind of all stick together a little bit better.
Yeah.
And there was personality about it. Like I didn't see anything that just spoke team and comfort to me. It felt very disparate from, from a personal approach.
Yeah, I'll admit, as a former penetration tester, I feel sorry for your penetration testing team. And I'm sorry, that's just a joke, but it is like all these services are on Splunk, and then there's this one little menu item under services that mentions penetration testing, and then, oh my gosh, you guys actually have like an entire penetration testing consulting arm here. And I was like, oh wow, that just, I mean, I realize that that's probably not your focal point for your business. It sounds like, Splunk consultancy and managed services are definitely where you're at, and that's great. But I might look at how you would want to present this maybe a little different then, because it does sort of just, it's like the weird, tail hanging out there that isn't really connected to anything else on this site, and it just sort of is there. So again, just thinking maybe there's a different way to present that particular part of your business. Just to, maybe give it, again, I don't know what kind of focus you really want to put on that, how much of that accounts for your, in terms of your overall revenues and market focus, but something to think about, because it just seems so weirdly out of place in amongst everything else.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. How about content? How did you guys find, I know you liked the blog. I was expecting when I clicked in here for this to be like a resource library. I think that's just me though. So maybe you could just have that go to a page that then brings up all these different resources. But I liked the variety of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be great if you could click on that resources heading and have that bring up just a general resources page. But yeah, I was all about this content.
Yep.
Again, great blog content. I love the tutorials. As somebody who's spent some time in Splunk world, that was great to read some of those. Those were terrific. Podcast was awesome too. And you had searches for all this, which is great.
Yep.
And then even links to download the various apps, and link to the GitHub. The last piece there, I didn't really understand why that was separate from the rest of the GitHub, because it just takes you to a GitHub link to, or a GitHub repo as well. So I wasn't quite sure why that was separate, but yeah, I was really excited by all the good content in that resources section.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, completely agree. I think there was tons of stuff there. And it stood out. I like the orange writing, which made it stand out to me. And I actually read the titles because it was so standout. I'm not sure whether the huge contrast is what made me kind of read it, but it definitely stood out more than some of the others. So that's a good thing. Yep.
One comment to make on our story, you need to add pictures of people on your team, guys. I was expecting to see like a picture of the founder or the leadership team or something. But yeah, you definitely have to add some humans behind the brand on our story page at least. That's what I was expecting to see.
And I'd like to know more about your story.
Right.
I mean, our story and the only real content here talks about, well, what you do. Well, you had this first section that says, it's where we started, it's where we are, it's where we're going. Well, tell me about where you started. If you're going to call it our story, that's what I would expect to see there is, something that talks about, hey, we started in, doing, creating winter tires or something, and we came to this, or whatever it is. In this case, you say it's been security all the way. Well, yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to wrap up on conversion points, I think you can do a lot more with making your contact us maybe like a button and making it a little bit more prominent, maybe making it an orange button or something. And then I think the checklist is a great way to just a nice CTA. So maybe moving that up and just making it more prominent as well, because ransomware is a big topic right now, especially in hospitals and healthcare. So you definitely, this is a great opportunity, and you could definitely do a lot more with it. Did you guys find getting in touch or learning more difficult at all?
No, I mean, the contact us page is there. on every one, it's pretty simple. There's a form, there's phone numbers, which are usually appreciated, especially when I'm talking about a managed services provider.
Yep.
So I thought that was all pretty easy. I don't know for your customers if the fact that the customer portal link only shows up on the contact us page, if that's a thing or not. If it would make sense to have like maybe a link in the menu for that, might actually be worth surveying your customers a little bit about that. But overall it seemed pretty straightforward.
All right.
Yeah, I think maybe a slight different nuances. So like the resource, on the services page, you scroll down, it's the same, just general let's chat kind of thing. Whereas a call to action, if I've got a specific purpose in mind, if I flow down a specific route because I want a Splunk SOC to be run or something of that nature, then some call to action that draws on that, right? So do you need more help with your Splunk SOC or whatever? Just personalizing those calls to action at the bottom of the services page, I think might make a difference, because unlike us, they're probably not going to be scrolled through the whole website, right? They're going to go towards the bit that they're particularly interested in.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. All right, that's a wrap for our critique. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I know we're a bit over schedule, so I apologize. Do we have any questions I think we only have questions right now, time from the companies that got critiqued. So let me just take a peek in the chat really quick.
Aileen, I got them. Do you want me to read them out loud?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you, Jake.
Hello. All right. So a couple of people asked to scroll back to some pages that they had on their sites. We don't have enough time to cover that, unfortunately, next time. However, okay, so Daniel from Keeper was agreeing with the point that, some of these websites look a little stocky. So do you, the panel, have any recommendations to make the website images feel less stocky, or stock website or template website? And Daniel was from Keeper.
So Keeper in particular, I think you guys have a great opportunity. Show us more from your apps. Like, honestly, you guys, you have a couple on there. One, like it had the Southwest integration, Southwest Airlines, and you could see like a username and password. Stuff like that is really cool. Take a page out of some of the stock photos, but maybe make it more to your market, like somebody with a notebook full of passwords, or the scene in War Games with the passwords underneath the keyboard, stuff like that kind of speaks to the problem. And think about it that way. I mean, that's always what I tell people with stock images is stock images work for a reason, but they're also a problem for a reason, right? They're so generalized. They're good because they give an overall feel, but a lot of times it's just such a general feel. Find something that matches your solution or the problem you're trying to fill. And if you can get stock image, I mean, you probably won't get stock image. You probably actually have to, have somebody create that imagery for you. But if you can get that, something that really speaks to the problem you're trying to solve, and not just some general picture of a confused person, I think that would be, frustrated trying to enter password into a website or something. All those types of feels, the things that you guys solve for.
Yeah, I love that. Your first point there, so I love that. I said that when we first landed on the page, like that dashboard looks epic, right? And I haven't got to it yet. Anywhere that you're using those partner logos, it just looks cool and easy to use. So I would say blow that up, like get it all over that website, because I think that easy to use, that easy to navigate. People are, after all, the call to action to get them on the platform, which is superb. So show them that platform. I think that's the way to go.
Awesome. Here's another question. What are some cybersecurity websites or B2B models, or even B2C, that you personally love?
Yeah, I can do. So B2C, Aileen knows all the usual suspects. We've been looking at a ton. I think things like oh my God, I can't believe I've forgotten the name of it, Aileen. What am I talking about?
Stitch Fix.
Stitch Fix. Everybody loves Stitch Fix. Like things that things that give you that call to action, right? And really drive you to do things like in a conversational tone, get interactive with it. I think that's really, really important from a B2C perspective. The balance, like we talked about, has got to be right between goofy enough, but and different enough, but still maintain that professionalism. So I think that's a tough thing. I would say try it with users. Like, this is a fantastic thing that the Aileen and team have brought together. Right? I would say try it with users. Like, get out to your target customers, show them that imagery, and ask them and see what they think. Right? Does it come across too goofy and unprofessional, or is it something that draws them in and wants them to interact? I think that's the balance you got to strike.
Awesome. And one last question, and we could speed round it. What are some cybersecurity? Sorry, nope, I asked that question. Do you think it's a good, like as a buyer, like do you think it's good to immediately have visitors choose and funnel themselves between personal product versus business product on the landing page?
So my completely uneducated opinion as a non-marketing person, that was something I was thinking about when I was looking at the Keeper page. Like almost, I wonder if it would make sense to make that split early on, because I think it would make arranging the content easier. And you could also provide a very customized website experience, because those are two very different people with very different problems, right? Your enterprise people are looking for, hey, how can I manage, all these people have these passwords and give them shared vaults where they can pull common passwords from and things like that, and all the things we like to do in the enterprise. And for, Joe customer down the road, they're just trying to figure out, we're just trying to get password managers in their hands and get them to use them and show them why this works really cool in your browser, makes your life easier. And they're very much less about the security features of it and probably far more about the convenience of it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That my completely uneducated marketing opinion as well is exactly that. I thought that when I saw it, and exactly to the point I've just made, right? Create a Stitch Fix style website for a B2C approach that gets people excited and interested, and you can be more goofy, like you can make it much more engaging for a B2C audience, and you don't necessarily have to worry about the sticking one foot in the professionalism camp that you need to do for the enterprise level. So yeah, I'm completely with splitting them out, whether it's from the main website or not. I think it's different branding for me, but then that's Aileen will tell me off. That's the marketer's preserve, definitely not.
All right, guys, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much. And if you just want to quickly, before we wrap up, plug where people can find you, if you have a website, Twitter, LinkedIn. But yes, you can find Cybersecurity Marketing Society on LinkedIn, Twitter, and at our website, cybersecuritymarketingsociety.com. And Alyssa, plug yourself, and then Craig, plug yourself, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, I just put my Twitter handle into the chat. Certainly feel free to connect with me there. My DMs are open. Twitter is by far the easiest. Otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn as well. It's just on LinkedIn, then it's a dash instead of the underscore. Or if you search for Alyssa Miller Security, you'll probably find me pretty quick as well, or Alyssa Miller Sneak. So
Thanks.
Yeah, I just copied Alyssa and did the same thing, but I'm not as active on Twitter, so just find me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to go.
All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for coming, and this will be on YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you at our next events. Bye, everyone.
awesome.
Take care. Bye-bye.